Hello James, in this video we will be learning introduction to crochet stitch diagrams. Crochet stitch diagrams are visual representations of crochet stitches and patterns. They involve the use of symbols and lines to illustrate stitches. Most patterns for lacy crochet stitches and crochet motifs come in form of stitch diagrams. Personally, I love to work with stitch diagrams. To me, they are taxing and challenging in a positive way, and I find them very interesting. One thing to note in stitch diagrams is that the symbols are standard and each one of them represents a stitch or a technique. Also, if a stitch diagram is used in a crochet pattern, the pattern creator would put what each symbol represents in the pattern. Here are some common symbols that are used in stitch diagrams. You can pause this video to go through them and get familiar with them. Here are some tips to note when working with crochet stitch diagrams. The first one is to understand the diagram. You have to familiarize yourself with the symbols used in the diagram and study them to understand the stitch pattern. Secondly, you identify the starting point. For some stitch diagrams, their starting point is from the chains and it is easy to identify them. For some others, like crochet motifs, the starting point is most times from the center, so you have to identify where the starting point is. For some stitch diagrams, they indicate this by an arrow, while some use numbers. And some might not even use any of the two, so you have to look closely at the diagram to identify it. The third one is to follow the diagram row by row. Of course, for stitch diagrams, you have to complete one row before you can even move to the next, so you have to do it row by row. Lastly, count your stitches regularly. Once you complete a row, check through to see that you did not omit any stitch, so that if there is a mistake, you can correct it before going further. This is an example of a crochet stitch diagram. It is a granny square stitch diagram and it is very easy to do. The starting point for this diagram is at the center and it is a magic ring, which is represented by the circle at the center. I would like you to attempt this crochet stitch diagram, and just to briefly walk you through it, you make the magic ring. After that, you are going to chain 3 and you double crochet twice. After that, you chain 2, then you do 3 double crochets, then you chain 2 again, you do 3 double crochets again, you chain 2, then you do the last set of 3 double crochets, then you chain 2 and slip stitch into the chain 3 that you began with. I've just walked you through the first row. To continue with the second row, you have to slip stitch 2 more times so that you can get to that chain 2 corner. Although this extra slip stitch symbol was not indicated in the diagram, but that will make it more easier for you to continue with the second row. So once you slip stitch to that chain 2 corner, you chain 3, then you do 2 double crochets, you chain 2 and you keep walking round and round like that. So please attempt this stitch diagram. I would love to see what you create from it and kindly send pictures to the group.